good? This is Mundo, and check it out. This BluGuitar Amp1 is my secret amp. Totally my secret amp, but I'm trying to get this concept through today, so bear with me. I'm not necessarily saying it's your secret amp, so let me explain why. By the way, the specs on this Amp1 is that it's a solid state 100 watt Class D nanotube technology amp. So there's the little nanotube. Let's see. Got me little nanotube here. It also weighs, I think, 2.6 pounds, so about 3 pounds, let's say. It is my secret amp. My favorite amp is this Friedman Dirty Shirley. I love this amp. It captures that JTM 45 circuitry. It's a British sound, and I build everything up from that. I don't really use channels on amps anymore. I just think of them as a stomp box platform. And this is it for me. This is my baby. But this is about 2,000 more than this. And before I even go on, getting back to this concept, these two amps, I didn't pay full price. I got them used. So try to get that in perspective with what I'm going to say. Finding a used good piece of gear to help you make money, right? Yeah, this is expensive. I didn't pay full price. Kudos to Sweetwater. It was an open box return special, and I asked them straight out, is it the new version or the old version when I bought it? And they thought it was the old version, but they weren't sure. And turned out to be the new version. So they were real cool about it. I got a great deal, Sweetwater. So check out the open box specials. Check out used gear, Facebook, eBay. And you can tell or have somebody check, just an app check, just like you would check taking a car. You can see if it's gig worthy. Same thing with this amp. This Amp1 is the first iteration. They have 2 more iterations. They have the Mercury edition, which is basically this, but better. That goes for $800. And then they have the Iridium version, which is like the metal version, and that goes for about $850. So it's expensive. Then again, if you can play in time and you got great tone, it's kind of your reputation, so it's good to put money into your gear, but don't pay full price, right? So I got these used, got this used. This, is, like I said, is the first iteration, so I'll be honest with you, I only use this, the clean channel or the vintage channel. It has 4 channels. It's got clean channel, vintage, classic, and modern. And they sound good. The clean sounds really good. Vintage sounds great. Classic and modern, a strong okay. And what's really not good about this amp, in my opinion, is the reverb. The reverb does not sound good. But I got this. I always have reverbs in my pedal boards, and that's how I used it. I heard about the Mercury edition coming out, and I was like, I gotta get that. That's cool. Now it has a good reverb. As a year and a half has progressed, why pay $800 for a new amp when this thing that I got used is killer? So this is my secret amp. It doesn't have to be yours. That's the concept. What is your secret amp? What is your secret backup amp? Because this is my #1 amp. Many reasons to have a secret amp, a backup amp. If this goes out or if it's in the shop, I got this. I've got other amps, by the way, and I can tell you it always comes down to these 2. If it's a full in-ear gig where you can make no sound, I'll use something like this HX Stomps or a Line 6 Helix. But I'm an amp guy, and if I can use an amp in any way, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use an amp. This Class D nanotube technology, 100 watt amp, sounds like an amp, and more importantly, feels like an amp to me. So it's come down to these 2. Many reasons to have a secret amp, like I said, if your main amp is out. This is perfect for fly-out gigs, right? Fits in my gig bag. Working here in Vegas, we often do 2 gigs a night. A big one and a small one, let's say, or one where you have to set up in the afternoon. You leave gear there. You go do another gig, come back to that gig where you set up in the afternoon, and you have 2 rigs going on in the city. Or there's always these great benefits or events going on in Vegas where you're just the hired guitarist to back somebody up for 1 song, maybe 2. So why bring the whole rig when you can bring your little secret weapon amp? And another reason to bring your secret weapon amp is if it's an event, a charity, a benefit, and there's all these singers and artists, you can't get your gear until the end of the gig. So, for instance, we have this great event once a month here called Composer Showcase. And in that, I think it starts at 10, maybe 10:30, doesn't finish till 12 or so. And let's say you're one of the first bands to go on. You got to sit there and wait and watch everybody before you could take your gear off, which is cool. You get to watch everybody. But if you have to wake up super early the next morning and you were there to do a favor and help out a fellow artist, then it's kind of cool to take something like this, secret weapon amp, take it, get a great sound, and literally as you're walking off the stage with your guitar, you can walk off the stage with your amp. This thing sounds so good. If I go somewhere and there's like a Fender amp, Fender Twin, I love them. They're not me. I got my sound here. Hey, I got a big gig, big stage. I'm taking my main amp, but I'll bring this as a spare. Rehearsals, bring your pedal board, bring your amp. A lot of gigs are in-ear gigs, and if you can use an amp, like I said, I will. Some situations, it just doesn't behoove itself to bring your main amp, expensive amp. So that's good for in-ear gigs as well. I like in-ear gigs where I'm using my in-ear monitors as monitoring and I'm able to use a cabinet and push some air. So that's kind of cool, but my signal goes through the front of the house, not from my cabinet. So the cabinet's there to make me happy. Signal goes through the front of the house. Another concept I want to bring in, part of the secret weapon. This is the BluBox by BluGuitar, the same engineer, Thomas Blug. He is the owner as well. Made both of these pieces of gear. And if you don't know who he is, Google him because he's pretty brilliant. So what is this? It is a speaker emulator IR. It's not a reactive load if you did want to go silent. It's used between your amp and your speaker. But a bonus with this, being a BluGuitar piece of gear and this BluGuitar piece of gear, is they work together. So I can go straight from this amp into this BluBox IR into the house or into my computer. And houses in Vegas, usually they want a balance line out. If not, you do have a line out here. It's loaded with 16 IRs, I think. I go down a rabbit hole when I have something where I can load my own IRs. I end up only using 1 to 3. So this simplifies it for me. And I think since it's here, I always use this Stack 1971 IR. I did not get this brand new as well. This is used. You don't have to get this. I'm not telling you to get this. It's more the concept. Two Notes Torpedo, the cab, they make some great stuff. Does the same thing as this. I think even more. All right, more options. I don't want more options. I just want to turn some dials and I'm good to go. Sir makes killer IR gear, IR portals. My favorite's the PT15 IR. So you got that Pete Thorne amp, 15 watts. It is a reactive load built in there. And it's got IRs that you can load in as well. Might come with some factory IRs, I don't know. Killer piece of gear. And then Sir also has a reactive load IR. More affordable than the PT15. You can load your own IRs in there, impulse responses, right? Darkglass came out with one called Element Cabism. It seems really cool. Maybe this size, maybe a little smaller. I'm gonna check into that. But I'm good to go because this is my number 1 way. I got a number 2 way. And for the gig, we're talking live playing. I'm really enjoying this. So in that intro video that you saw, I was so happy. That was the first time I really used this BluBox guitar. So it's from about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. I brought my BluGuitar and I brought my Friedman cabinet. I love this cabinet. Great sound, and my pedal board. Now here's my fun board. And I know what you're thinking. All this hair, all this dog hair, and the answer is yes, it makes it sound better. So this is my fun board. I use this just as much as my main board. It needs to be professionally wired, but I just take pieces of gear on and off of this and fit the gig. So it's just so much fun. I got to that gig and I had this rig. Did not have this out. This was in my bag. The sound guy's like, we don't have another mic to mic your cabinet. I didn't want them to take it out from the back of this, so I've never worked with that yet. I've worked with this in the studio, so I popped this out from my bag and we put this in the equation. This went to the house. I heard sound on stage with the cabinet, and that's what you hear. So also what you hear is my guitar into the pedal board. I'm just using this Juillerat clone. Juillerat, awesome. I got to do a video on this. And a little bit of reverb. That's it. The rest of I didn't have this at the time, and the rest of these I weren't using. It was gypsy jazz, so I wasn't using the delay. And the Amp1 going through the BluBox into the house, and I thought it was a killer sound. Let me just show you how I use this amp very quickly. There's a lot of great Amp1 video demos out there. So like I said, I'm not trying to sell you on how great this sounds or why it's the amp for you. I'm trying to sell you on the concept. So I'm just gonna keep this rig the way it is right now. Pedalboard, time-based effects to the effects loop, 4-cable method into the Amp1. Instead of going into the speaker, I'm going to go into the BluBox, and we'll go into the computer from there. Hey, one thing I forgot to mention as an extra bonus to me is I fell in love with this Friedman cabinet, but it's only 16 ohms, and a lot of my amps don't run at 16 ohms. I know you can cheat and put your 8 ohm through it, but it does sound better at 16 ohms. The Dirty Shirley does that, and what's really cool is the BluGuitar gives you the option as well to have 8 ohms or 16 ohms. So I find that really flexible in case, and also if I went to a gig where they had a cabinet for me to use, I got the option there. All right, so I got my guitar, I got my pick. The bulk of these gigs might not be as glamorous as you think, but if I got a good bass player and a good drummer, I'm gonna have a blast. So let's just pick some what might be boring stuff that might pay well. So let's see. I've got the clean sound dialed in right now and just a little reverb. So I'm in a band, I'm behind a singer, it's not about me. Simple stuff, right? Might be a disco gig or a funk gig. Fun stuff, right? Let's see. Right now this is dialed up for some metal stuff I was doing. So that's the concept. I got my secret amp used. I have my IR DI box, not a true DI box, but I'm using it that way in case I get stuck or I need to go in ears or sound company doesn't have the gear I need to get me into the house. They work great together. You don't have to get this gear. There's a lot of other gear that does that very well. So that's just the concept I'm trying to give you. Until next time, this is Mundo. If you like what I'm doing, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Aloha.